Hello.
My old friend.
Hey, buddy, what's up today?
Well, there was one day that it was a really shit day for both of us, and we were like, we should really focus on good things today and do a podcast on it. But I don't think that's what we did that day.
No, I mean, some of the discussion, that we were doing was just the fact that, we used to be just so much more patient, and, this and that, and it's just as time's gone by, and especially in the post-COVID civilization or existence we have, you see so many people on edge and da-da-da-da. So me as a person that's normally pretty really laid back and stuff, I don't enjoy the feeling of being anxious because of just the stupidity that, man, I didn't used to have to watch for that, road rage and stuff. I was coming back from a trip the other day, and this guy and girl, they come flying down this motorcycle, just free as a bird, no helmet, just 90 miles an hour. And used to, I was younger, I'd think, well, I don't want to do that. But man, I bet you that's, cool. All I could do is when I watched them go by was, stomach fall out, and I would just get anxious, like, geez, I couldn't do that now.
Hey.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was riding along at midnight, Saturday night. I was getting close to, I had to drive out at nighttime in the city, very dense city area that I don't usually drive in at night. And I was driving down, 3-4 lanes wide. I'm driving in my middle lane as much as I could get in the middle, trying to chill. And all these motorcycles come by me. No helmet, fucking 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, driving 100 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour, as you say. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But it goes deeper though. I've noticed over the past several weeks, I've always called myself the dude. Ever since I learned about the Big Lebowski, I've always like, hey man, I want to be the dude. But then I remembered, after all the stuff that's happened to me and to you and to us and our friends and such in the past few weeks, it's like, I understand how the dude got ensnared in that whole woo piss on his rug thing. He got all pissed off, wanted to make a point about it. Bad guy went out and said, God damn it, I'm going to go to the guy, the big Lebowski, and he's going to compensate me for the fucking rug, And, of course, it can happen like that. Of course, I was seeing everybody else do it. I was like, well, it's summertime, everybody's hot. And then I started doing it, and then you and I started talking, and, even you and I were, arguing about shit. I'm like, this is not even correct. Me and this dude have been laughing. We've been the dudes longer than the dude's been the dude, So it's crazy times, and I guess it's kind of maybe a post-COVID. There's a political climate that's crazy. There's all these stressors in our lives, but we're all still humans. We're all still meet at Walmart and talk about cool stuff,
Oh yeah, by all means. At the end of the day, it's all just water under the bridge. I mean, I was telling somebody here the other day, it's like, when you find a best friend, that's the biggest thing. You never truly have to be worried that either one of you are going to call it just absolute quit without a little bit of a cool down and a try of reconciliation. If they just absolutely betray you, well, they were never your best friend to begin with. If they're your best friends, you're going to be able to make up. And even if you don't come back to where you were, you're still going to be friends. Well, that's what best friends do. You know what I'm trying to say?
Well, I woke up one morning after you and I had an argument. It's like arguing with my wife. I was like, holy shit, me and Donna are not straight? Because this is the dude I'm going to talk to about every damn thing in my life. I'm like, I had to send you, I sent you I'm sorry, email or text message here because I was like, holy shit, this is my brother. This is not somebody that I can dispose of. This is somebody I care about, and I don't want to be disconnected from them, So I was like, I got humble real quick. I was like, look, I made a mistake by being a dick, and I don't know. I'm glad.
Well, and I'm with you there because at the same time, I understood. Dude, you had a bad day. I said, I ain't mad at you. And we just moved on from it. I said, hey, look, man, if I did anything to imply that, we good. And then we just went on with our conversation, like it never happened. So, yeah, we each got to be able to know that, man, he just had a bad day. It was nothing personal.
Well, and of course, we were also talking about, even through all this process of trying to figure things out, is like, there's never a justification for being a dick for somebody you care about. You should try not to. But sometimes,
correct.
In fact, most of the time I'm reserved. I'm more reserved. So if I don't understand something, instead of lashing out with anger, I'll get quiet and I'm like, what is he or she or my child or whatever trying to say to me? Because if someone is upset and they're talking with you, they trust you. Okay. And then it all depends upon how we respond to them. And I realize that because usually, my whole job, like as a coach with baseball, raising children, being a husband, a friend, is to always understand that if somebody comes to me, and I'm a very, you hear old Brad curse a lot. If somebody comes to me fucked up, I'm gonna try to help them get unfucked. You know what I'm saying? That should be my job. But now, whenever the dude, starts responding with it, I'm like going, well, am I justifying this with it being hot? Am I justifying this with being COVID? Am I justifying this because I had clear liquor that day? I had some, Blanco tequila. I mean, what? I don't need to do whatever it is I was doing that day or what I was feeling.
Right.
Well,
and some of this, of course, talking in the back channel there, we're not saying this. Is that we're trying to get to a bigger point of if two of the best friends for life are having problems. What's the underlying factor here? Is it a combination of things? Is anybody justified in this Karen and Kevin behavior we see so often? Again, the reason I was bringing up the thing about being anxious. Okay, I'm anxious about riding on a motorcycle now, but what I shouldn't have to be anxious about that I experienced on that trip was just this crazy road rage stuff, people just constantly ignoring just everyday road courtesy. I mean, if I'm moving along and I'm passing somebody and somebody faster gets up behind me, I slide on over, let them go by and go back and come on behind them. But you see so much of this, you're barely going to ease by, and instead of them tapping the brakes a little bit, they don't go by, then you go behind them and go out. They want to speed up and get in front of you. And it's just, almost caused like 3 or 4 wrecks. Oh, it was just crazy, and I just see it everywhere, not just on the highways. That just kind of brought more so to my attention. Again, everybody can go watch the Kevins and the Karens all over the place. The entitlement, this is just wrong over something that don't mean a hill of beans. And a lot of them folks ain't even got the right to say they were drinking clear liquor or anything of that nature. You could tell they wasn't hot, they wasn't this, they had zero excuse for their actions other than in their mind. Now that's just my opinion for folks who just lash out like that. Now, how about you, brother?
Well, I agree. You make a decision to do that, even if it's not making a decision. In other words, there was 20, 30 years ago, I got introduced to that Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And of course, one of those, I think it's habit 2. I think it's habit 2. Be proactive. And what proactive means is that you're in front of whatever you're about to say or you're about to do. In other words, you think before you respond. And I think that what happens to a lot of people is, you mentioned the word entitlement, and their threshold of responding is way bigger than it should be. In other words, they're out there responding to stuff they have no reason to respond to. And we can all do that.
And that's right. And when I say entitlement, I'm not talking about, this, rich white chick or anything. I'm talking about any type of entitlement. Again, the road rage, I deserve to be here now. Oh, I was locked up for the last 20 months or 2 years or whatever it's been for the COVID thing. I'm getting free. By God, I deserve this. and you can't stop me. Well, everybody feels that way. And so when everybody feels the entitlement of like, well, I've been locked up longer than you. We've all went through it. It's just some of us had it a little harder, and shit, man. You know? But that's where a lot of that shit is. It's all entitlement based on my hardship during this hardship that everybody went through is greater than yours without ever knowing the other person. And, you know, it can happen. But I just wonder if there's an underlying reason for it. And just as a teaser for maybe a show we can add to here in a little while, it's like, you know, some of our Delphi type stuff. What effect on crimes, you know, in rural areas and, you know, the uptick of these crimes like the Delphi thing, does this situation actually make worse or have more of? You know, but anyway, we can discuss that on a different way.
Well, that's interesting. But let's just touch that. Let me touch the side of it. So, like, you have a time right.
Oh, by all means. Yeah.
But I was sitting there just a little bit ago, and I was looking at the weather patterns for the next 7 to 10 days. And I think Saturday is supposed to set heat and heat index records in this area. Okay. So you have, and we all know, if you look at crime statistics, you'll see that a lot of more crime occurs when things are hot because people are out moving. They have a few days. Most time in the winter, we're all working. You know, in summer, we have a little bit more free time, longer days, you know, specifically longer days. And so we're out doing things. And the hot weather, it's a correlation. I don't know that there's any kind of criterion validity, but there is a correlation between hot weather and bad behavior. And right now we're setting heat records as far as the records have ever been calculated and recorded in our area. And I think it's all across the United States of America right now. We're going through a heat wave, or about to, that we've never seen before. And that's pretty crazy. You know, that's some climate change stuff going on there. So, like, we don't even know what that means. So if we're setting new records that we've never experienced, then the data that we've been working with may not be as good as what it was. Because we're entering new territory.
Right. You know, well, and it's just kind of wondering, like, I don't know if anybody's ever looked at, hey, did weather have any conditions on, you know, how this guy had been acting? I mean, but it's not just him, but that is kind of what I thought about to make me think about. There are lots of other crimes. I mean, there was a Barry Island cast you did with our friend Lauren, you know, while I was kind of out and about and couldn't join. You know, and then we also discussed, there was another Chris Hooks here in our area, and she touched on one or two, you did as well. But neither here nor there. It's like, I would just be interested. Yeah. How much time does that do? And then, of course, now you're right. With all the heat, it's just going to get worse, especially with, quote, entitlement. I kind of see everybody seems to think they have. Well, but again, hey, we can get deeper on that on another channel or something. Yeah, no, we hadn't really talked about it, so yeah.
Well, let's do that, because that's interesting, because we should look at weather patterns on stuff like that. And of course, you know, you brought up another point too. You were off on sabbatical, and so was I. In fact, this channel hasn't even published anything now in over a week. But you know, the thing of it is that everybody's kind of taking summer vacations, and really, I think that a lot of us, kind of my big picture take from all this, though, Donald, is that for the past year or so, actually since 2019, it didn't really slow down for me during the pandemic. You know, you mentioned people getting locked up, but, you know, I was one of those people that you know, I had to go. I had lots of work to do. The type of industry I'm in, I'm not going to mention what it is, but became very busy because people, you know, were needing the kind of services that I provide. So I got very busy. And, you know, of course, you know, when you're very, very, very busy, things change for you. You know, it's like that Pavlov's dog salivating, you know, whenever you have opportunity. And like, you know, the type of opportunity that my type of industry has experienced in the past couple of years has never been there. I mean, you know, it hasn't never been that easy to acquire at least, or attain at least one side of the coin. Everything's two sides. But
right.
Of course,
yeah.
When one side got more easy, and of course it made me very, very busy. So all I've done for the past couple of years is just roll. And what I'm doing now,
right. I mean, Well, and that's kind of to the point is all the service industries, which, like you're in a service industry. And so the demand is only there if it's considered vital. So yours happens to be one that, it's not terribly vital, but then suddenly it was super vital. So, yeah, I get what you mean. And so you went from kind of the way you're getting back to this rolling. Constant demand. Oh, you got to provide. We need. So, hey, brother, I get
16 hours a day. 16
yes,
hours. And you've been there. Because you talked about it before. And what happens when you roll and you roll and you roll and you roll and you roll? That excitement dies down.
Yes, it does.
It does. And even the money becomes not important. It's like going, well, I've seen that number before. I want a bigger one. And then it gets bigger and you go, well, I'm not really, that doesn't interest me. I need peace. I need to sit up under an apple tree and have an apple hit me in the head or something.
There you go. Absolutely. Now you get down to that, becomes in with yourself. But you're right. I mean, you're not wrong in any shape, form, or fashion. So I can't say you're absolutely right, but you're absolutely not wrong.
Hey,
because it is depending on situations, of course. Yeah,
There was a metaphor I feel with that apple hitting the ground. I remember hearing about Newton's 3 laws, and of course the story. Now, whether it was true or not, I don't know. But he watched an apple. He was sitting up under an apple tree one day, just kind of lazing around. He'd been thinking about this physics problems for a few weeks or months or years there, days, whatever. And all of a sudden, he saw an apple hit the ground, and then he saw another apple hit the ground that was smaller. And then he had this fortuitous thought that come to his brain, about one of the laws of the 3, basic laws of movement, physics. Well, then, of course, what I've been thinking lately is that, if you get so damn busy that you don't have time to lean up against a tree instead of leaves, your life becomes very complicated because everybody needs, meditation. They need some, whatever you want to call it, meditation, yoga, time to breathe, kind of sit up under a tree and burn a hole through a leaf. I mean, we need time to slow down and think. All of us do.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's gonna have to just be one of those. If you don't slow down and smell the roses, well, you're gonna be smelling the forest in front of the other guy. Because the guy ahead of you's gonna slow down, and you're gonna run right up his ass, and you're gonna be stuck there. Because in a lot of our problems, that's kind of where it went. We took on a certain set of responsibilities, and because of how we believe and work ethic and that type of thing, once it got busy, it's like, well, I'm the one who signed up for this shit, and so we pushed. And it's just, sometimes you push a little harder than you think you can handle, and you crack a little bit. We just don't press the brake. It's just we got to have the people around us to understand us and help us heal that little crack we got going.
That's important. One of the biggest things you can have is a friendship circle, family and friends. Sometimes more friends than family. Of course, friends become family, and of course, both. If you fall down, whoever catches you, before you hit the ground and hurt something, that's your friends. That's your family. That's who take that. That's deep. Even if it's
absolutely.
Work,
even if it's work. I mean, everybody. Hey, when you're asking for help and you think you're being clear, you got to have people that understand that. Well, maybe I just don't understand it. And there's nothing you can do other than just say, man, if you need something, just let me know because I don't understand what you need. And hey, that's there too. It's got to be there for when the pieces come back together and they resolve that problem. You're there to, hey, I get it. And nothing's changed with us. There you go. That kind of thing. Everybody needs that.
A lot of times it's just to listen because that's, a lot of times we don't even know what we need or where we're at.
Right.
Sometimes I just get frustrated. I just know that if you see me acting different than I normally am, you know, like you did to me a couple of times, over the times, like, and I've done to you, it's like, I don't know what's going on, but I know that shit's fucked up. So, and of course, whenever stuff gets out of balance, then you know that, specifically if you've known people for a long time, you know, you could tell in about 10 seconds where somebody that may have known me for 10 seconds wouldn't catch it. But like, you know what my average is, you know what my median is, you know, my ups and downs. And of course I'm always, and to you and to me, what you do is acceptable. If we get outside of that, we become worried. And of course, and I think that maybe even with that whole Kevin and Karen or Kenneth and Karen thing, whatever it is, they just don't have people to help regulate them. Because I would hate to know if I ever got like that, it's because people weren't keeping me in check. You know, because sometimes I get a big head, and sometimes I get too deflated. Sometimes you got to air me up, and sometimes, Donald, you have to slow me down. You know, because I'm like going, well, I'm the king of the world, and whenever I speak, the fucking aliens listen. You know, or whatever. You know.
Well, I mean, hey. Apparently, the Romans had it right before. Returning gladiators had people a slave in there with them. You two are human, type thing. So, but they would not get the big head about, you might be the leader returning from this humane, but you're still human. You're still a man. So, hey, maybe they had that figured out way before, and nobody pays attention very often. But it is kind of like that. You got to have somebody that's going to be honest, even if it's painful for you to hear, And know that they were saying these things not out of spite, but just to, hey man, slow it down.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Of course, I had a little at all these games that I went to. In terms of, I've been locked up in baseball tournaments, all-star tournaments for the past couple of weeks or so. Okay, so we're sitting in there, and of course, whenever you go there, you happen across all kinds of people. And of course, I'm up there right behind home plate, being very loud. And back there, I get to meet umpires, I get to meet park and recreation people, all kinds of people back there, doctors. And I got to talking to a doctor that, every time you have a game, you have to have a doctor on site. Number one thing that they do, I found out, I didn't even realize this, is that you can't have open wounds. You can have players that have really bad cuts, but you can't have open wounds. So that was his main job there. We got to talking about things, and I was like, well, what you just mentioned was that, dealing with stuff that's, you don't want to have to deal with, but it's the exact same thing with me. I don't want to have to deal with physical issues. With what goes on inside below my skin, I don't have to think about. But there's people that, like these doctors and stuff that have to deal with all the stuff they've had to deal with. And, he was talking about how traumatized he was to this whole COVID thing. Because he could meet someone and they could have some really bad infections and stuff going on inside of them that you couldn't tell. He's had, of course, the hardest thing he told me he had to do was deal with telling someone, we're talking about telling someone they're in a bad space, but he has to tell someone they have to have cancer, that they have cancer and stuff. So I got, I had to hear a little humility stuff from me this weekend. Every time you think that you have it tough or that you have a hard road to hoe, to use a farmer terminology, there are people out there that are doing something, they're seeing it worse than you are. There's always a perspective to get, and I think that's what friends help bring out in you, because if you're really concerned about the here and now and all of the important stuff in life, it's easy to listen and learn about things, especially when you get above or about our age. We're those 50-year-old men.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know. I mean, come on. A lot of doctors, and nurses and aides, anybody in that medical field, they get it because they have an empathy going on, and for, that pandemic, so many of them, so many people, die and, get sick and they couldn't do anything. And, hey, they're not only having to watch this empathy of, of these people they have these tiny slices of connection with, but they have an empathetic connection with them, every person of them. Otherwise, they really shouldn't be in that field, But, and there's some that aren't in there for the right reasons, but I digress. And then you add the fact that, they didn't know what was going on. How could they protect themselves? Am I going to carry this home to my kids? And then they were, whenever they decided, well, the best thing is you just get a hotel. Well, geez, I hate being away from my girl for more than a day. Can you imagine just being a nurse or a doctor and suddenly not being able to see your family for months on end without worry about going home and dying? Well, how many people actually thought about that? I mean, took the moment to consider it from their perspective. Of course, there's PTSD with the poor folks. I sympathize, and then, of course, it's just something that nobody can help but maybe just listen to somebody because, if you can let them know that, look, man, I really kind of think I understand where you may feel this pain. And if I'm wrong, well, have a discussion and try to explain it to me. And it can help a lot of people.
Well, I've been trying to figure out the name of our episode here, but I think I finally figured it out.
What's that?
Well, I think that one of the Beatles songs title should be the name of it. All you need is love.
Hey, there you go. So that's kind of what it boils down to. Because it's not just us and but us is I think it's a great example of hey, how everybody should try to do, and maybe things will start to get better a little at a time. No matter how you do it. So just try to understand that everybody has a little bit of I'm so sick of this in them.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, man. That's a good one.
All you need is love. That's what it be. So, I noticed this was like, I have I'm around a lot of young people, and I see that, and I remember being young when I think about it. So, like, if you ever are in a situation where you're married and you're in a pretty stable relationship and you're worried about all the stuff that we've talked about there, and you start thinking about what it's like to not have a partner, whether, it's Pride Month, whatever, whether it's whatever it is. Most of us are heterosexual, but there's a lot of other things out there I don't understand. But I've learned about it lately, just like I learned about Juneteenth, lately. But, if you're out there in this lonely, lonely ass world and you have somebody there or a group of friends around you and people that love you, you can get through a whole lot more stuff. It's not even imaginable. I remember, I grew up in a divorced family, and there was always money there. But I was so jealous of even the poorest of families around me that I knew that all sit down at the table every night and had, where they enjoyed being. They had people there and they enjoyed being with them. And of course, everybody always, said, well, you got a three-wheeler and a brick house and all this kind of stuff. And I lived like that for a long time. And I realized later, though, that, man, some of the greatest things that you'll ever experience is about friends. It's about love. Really, I mean, really. After now, I know I've turned 50, and I know I've probably become more sentimental than I once was. Of like, wife beater T-shirts and muscles and doing 100,000 jumping jacks per day or whatever. The 50-year-old version of me is like, man, what would I do without my wife, without my children? All the people around us, our neighbors, our friends, our baseball friends, our baseball family, our road family. I mean, the people that I talk to every single day, what would I do without that? I mean, that's the most important thing to me. It's not,
right.
anything.
Yeah, well, and
it's really not.
It's really not. And there's a thing I figured out, and I guess I figured it out a little too late, and I kind of tried to, but I've only now been able to do it, is figure out that, a lot of times when you've got a problem, and, this kind of goes back to, anybody who just needs some support, and if you actually have people who are truly trying to help you, a lot of times I think people kind of hold that they hurt themselves on purpose in terms of, no, you can't understand. And it's almost like I say, it's like, look, I just want to be mad like this for a while. I want to be like this for a while, and I understand that. But, yeah, the ones that kind of get that, if they'll kind of listen and say, okay, well, be mad and be upset for a little while, but let that pain go, because these people are truly trying to help you, type thing. And that's how I think a lot of folks, go from, you'll see they'll do any and everything they can, and then that person, they get screwed and screwed and screwed and screwed. And then, they finally just like, well, look, you got to help yourself some. And it's like they got to let go of that pain and let that realize, otherwise it's going to continue. And I think some of the folks just get like that. They just want to torture themselves. I understand nobody can understand what you went through, because like you said, somebody can perceive, how bad their ordeal is so much better than yours. Well, you could be absolutely right. I don't know. I didn't observe how you did it. I just have to understand that you think that, and regardless of what I think, I have to accept that and move on.
You said something back there a little bit earlier, and like you focused on the other part of it. But a very important part of what you were saying is that sometimes you just need to be mad, and people need to let you. They need to understand that you're not going to go that far with it, but you need to express your anger, because sometimes it takes that for other people to see where you're coming from, to really understand. Of course, if it's done respectfully, you can't hit them in it. The old saying is that you can't kill a fly on your friend's head with a sword.
No. What you got to do is you use a board. You use a board just not to fence at him and then let him come to on his own.
That's right. Yeah.
But you can't use Thor's hammer. I mean, but you're absolutely correct. And, and I say that because, I had recently experienced, a little case like that of, it wasn't that it was the end of the world. It was a case of it just needed to be mad for a little while, even though knowing everything's going to be okay. Just got to be mad for a little bit, and it'll be over with. And that's just the way it works sometimes.
It's very environmental too. So if let's just say that I'm here by myself, which I don't ever really do, but if I'm here by myself, sometimes if I'm here by myself and I contact my friends and I let them know I'm upset, they need to let me vent, even if they're just sitting there, grilling a steak, and just every once in a while go,
absolutely.
Okay, yes, sir, you're fucking right.
Absolutely.
That's all you got to do.
That's right. I mean, yeah, and it is a case of that, and it's a case of hey, if it's a hard truth, you need to slap them upside the head with it. If it's something that you kind of go along with it and go, well, I see where you're coming from, and just listen to them. Yeah, everything's good. It's only if they start talking real stupid, you go, no, I'm gonna come over and hit you in the head with a stick. Now, not that either one of us has had to do that to the other one, but you smell what I'm stepping in.
Hey, but you say that, but that's a hard line to walk. I mean, where is that level where you should go, well, maybe you need to back up off that, and maybe I should push you further. I'm saying,
Well, I think if that actually happened, my line would be, I've known you this long, and this is how I believe your morals and da-da-da. And if you're out of line due to exactly what we're talking about, you're having a little bit of a snap, a little bit of a breakdown, and, you just can't see the forest for the trees, then, me as being the one that, I'm the one that knows you best, and I'm just going to say, man, you are a tiny bit out of line. That's respectful, polite, and if we get mad about it, that's the way it is.
Hey,
go ahead.
If you're the one who tells me that, then I will fucking listen. Okay? Very few people, even my dad. Of course, my dad, I won't back to him. But as far as it goes, we all need that. We need that kind of a balance. So, someone that can do that. And of course, the more people that you that you can trust, the probably the better off you are. Of course, it's hard to develop that kind of trust, though, isn't it? I mean, how long does it take to trust someone? I mean, really, think about it. I mean, how long have you got to know them and kind of, to not
Well,
really know them? What does that mean to trust somebody, I guess?
well, I mean, to me, it's just, you gotta, don't start with mistrust. I mean, be wary and but to me, the level of trust is just, there's a point you either gotta believe it or don't believe it. And, I mean, heck, if you get to that point that it's not true, well, then you stepped in the wrong direction. But I think it's just to the point that you feel comfortable, and they're comfortable with you being able to do that. And if it's there, it's there. If it ain't, it ain't. I mean, because heck, it's like you was talking about. You could tell and talk to your best friend about the shit you ain't never gonna talk to your daddy nothing about, because there's just shit that. Emotional side or whatever, that you just don't know how to relate to them because they don't get it, So best friends might could get it even if it's different experiences. So I guess it's just you got to judge that on your own. We already know how we are, so and hell, it's been that way since kindergarten. It was just a thing that we always just.
Well, and I think you're right with it. It's about investing time in people. Are you there, Donald?
Yeah, I mean,
investing time in people is important, and I think that we've become. It's almost as if I'm glad we grew up when we did, and like some of the kids that I'm seeing are going to be riding by me right now are people that are these kids that are playing and they're developing friendships and trust, and what that means is they're around each other. They went to school together, they play together, listen to music together, do all of those things that are human. But I almost feel like sometimes that these days we've got to the point to where we are so online, snapping and this and that and all this that there was 4-wheelers passing by me. That you get disconnected from life. And you just become a little a notification on a computer screen.
Well, and that's true. I mean, I don't think any of the generation now this is going to get kind of deep, in what I think it is anyway. The ones that have it now, they're not going to ever develop the friendships we had during our time, because of, like you say, the social side of it. Even the people today and then that never found a friendship like ours, the honesty to be able to I'm okay with just not caring that you like what I hear. I'm not pandering to your ego. I don't put you on the pedestal. That clique stuff. That's how those little cliques get started. There's one person that's got the charisma and a little bit of leadership, and the sheeple just kind of follow behind. And there's so many of them that they never invest the time, exactly what we're discussing, to know, can you absolutely trust that person? And today's kids ain't going to have that because it's all anonymous time spent. You never know, are they really telling me the truth? Are they going to stab me in the back? Or you can't never tell. And in my opinion, you could never truly tell from just the online interactions like a lot of these folks seem to get.
So, I've noticed over the years too. You did get deep there. Goodness gracious, I'm trying to get a rope around all that to encapsulate it. But I've noticed that I have bands around me, and I think it takes people not violating specific. They understand me enough to know to not go in a certain direction, and if they do, they test. They realize it, they don't ever do it again. I guess that's what it is. Or they're bold enough to be my friend, help me move to the next level. And sometimes some of that is the hardest, most challenging things there is. And of course, I say that because I got so much of a thick history in psychology, and every little part of me in the very bottom is kind of a therapist.
Right, yeah. I understand what you're saying. Go ahead.
Well, that's kind of it, though. It's like, you sit there sometimes instead of worrying about, trying to empathize with people, we start trying to solve their problems. That's what I'll That's what all
I got you. Oh, okay.
that I've got an argument with, that I want to solve their problems instead of listen to them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's the thing. And, yeah, that is a problem sometimes. And like you was talking about with fans, there are certain things that go certain ways, and people cross them, and normally they know. Yeah, don't cross that band again, please. But you've also got those bands that only certain people are allowed to cross. I'm just trying to rephrase what you said and see if I'm understanding it right.
I like that.
That's the people. That's the people who will push across that boundary and actually put their hand on their chest and go, "No, man, you need to step back one more," type thing. On those certain boundaries, not necessarily the absolute ones, because there are absolute ones for everybody. That no. These are lines that no one can cross. Yeah. So,
here's the
but yeah,
especially one you're currently mad about.
Right. Yeah. It is a case of but when it's one of those things, you just know your friends. You finally figure out you really can't help him much more than just try to listen. Then that's when you got to have those that also know when to take a step back and just let you rant for a little while and just listen, leave you be, and it'll be okay. And of course, I'm not talking about between friends. It's just maybe friends complaining about another issue in their life. I mean, of course, it's just everything. So
we don't want to be talking with drama. I don't want to be in all that. I want to be smooth. I really want to be the dude.
Yeah,
that's where we started.
The dude. That's right.
That's what we need. And look here, man. The dude talked about his shit, man. We spent a lot of dude time, rocking on about this. Hey, if you folks ever listen to us, we appreciate you hanging out with us this long for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is I want to be sure we get out that I know this might be just two buddies down here in the southern parts of the state and that kind of stuff, but I just think that if everybody could kind of apply a little bit of that nationwide, we could get rid of a lot of the negative stuff. I think everybody feels. It ain't gonna solve all the problems by no freaking means, but just a little less negativity with a tiny bit of effort. Man, hey, just pretend it's your best friend and take a step back from it. How about that?
Hey, I'm gonna finish it off right here. One of the things that you quote me as saying, and everybody else quotes me as always saying, is like, you become what you think about. If you become all you need is love. If you think about all you need is love, that's what you'll become. Not my brother. She's saying.
Yeah, I heard that.